So welcome to the Friendly Water for the World chat about building better. Just some housekeeping that I always go over at the start. The chat is being recorded. We do upload our videos to YouTube and other places so folks can see them. That's just to let you know. I usually recommend muting your microphone until you're willing to speak. I think these days everyone's kind of a Zoom expert. So I'm sure if you have any questions, feel free to ask or chat with me through Zoom, but I'm sure everyone knows the routine by now. All of our chats can be accessed at friendlywater.org/events. That's both future chats to register and previous chats, and on that page, you'll see everything that we have hosted on YouTube, and you can watch anything you like. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I'm Will at friendlywater.org. Our mission, which is new, and as I've mentioned in the previous chat and a couple of emails, we'll be talking more about this moving forward, but we changed some of the language in our mission. So Friendly Water for the World trains and equips communities in sustainable village scale technologies to safeguard, conserve, and expand essential resources to meet our vision of people able to live healthy lives and free to plan for the future. So who are we? I like to include these bullet points just to give an overview if you're new to the organization. We provide expertise in sustainable and scalable village-based essential resource programs. We'll be talking about one of those today, which is our Building Better program. And actually, I'm going to be starting by talking about what is a program, because that's kind of new language for us. We build knowledge and resilience with the communities, and they help build our knowledge and resilience for what they offer. We activate community engagement. We embrace the dignity, strengths, and rights of all living beings, and we seek to empower people worldwide. So I'm going to escape out of that and stop my sharing for a second and talk a little bit about what is a program. And rather than our last chat, I had a very formal presentation where I talked about sustainability, and that's an incredibly important component. Talking about what is programming for us. If you've followed us for any length of time, you've probably heard us talk about biosand water filters a lot, or rainwater catchment tanks a lot. You've probably heard us talk more recently about brick making or interlocking stabilized soil bricks, or maybe multi-purpose soap. The one thing that all of these things have in common is that they're a technology. And so these are technologies that we have partnered with communities to build and implement in their community. And that's how we always talked about our work. We talked about it through two lenses. One, the lens of the people on the ground with whom we were building relationships and helping, and two, through a technology. And what you're going to be hearing more from us about is kind of abstracting and looking up a little from that and talking about our work in terms of programs. And for these programs, technology can be a component of a program, or a program could actually not have any technology at all. And I think of it in terms of this. I was thinking about this earlier today, and that every morning I get up and usually have some breakfast, assuming my 3-year-old lets me. And some days I have toast, and some days I may have pancakes or eggs. And each of those individual meals is essentially like a technology we're using, but the program is breakfast. And sometimes breakfast is just me sitting with my daughter, and I don't have a chance to eat, but that's still breakfast for me. So our programs are, and we're still kind of evolving the language to describe them, but they are a partnership with a community, and they are addressing a challenge within that community. They are run through a 5-step community investment process, which involves surveying, engaging, planning, training, and optimizing. Those steps can be different for any particular program. And what you'll hear about today, for example, is our Building Better program, which happens to include interlocking stabilized soil bricks. But the program looks very different in Kambiri with Eric, our programs manager, than it does in Matsakha with Getri and Transforming Communities for Social Change and the Matsakha Development Group. And I'll talk a bit about what makes those programs similar and what makes them different. So I wanted to give kind of an introduction of that language and how we'll be talking about our programs and our work moving forward. There will be some programs, I imagine, that may not involve a technology at all. They may just involve education. We may have a good hygiene program that right now is focused on soap, but that may instead, for one particular community, just be focused on educating, or maybe focused on disseminating information to ensure good hygiene. So there are lots of ways that these programs will come to life, and they'll all be customized to the community and the strengths and abilities in that community and our relationship with that community. So I wanted to kind of start our Building Better discussion by talking a little bit about the history and I'm going to go right here to brick making or interlocking stabilized soil bricks, because it is what we've primarily used in the past. And I'm just gonna, because we didn't have a couple of people show up today, I'm gonna kind of just tell this story through some pictures. So we've been doing some brick making work, some interlocking stabilized soil brick work for quite a while now. I think the genesis of it in terms of programming really goes to our Manze work from last year in 2019. Kurt and other team members were in Zambia. They were in a few places in Zambia. One of the places they visited was Manze, and they met with the Zambia Women and Girls Foundation. And we came up with, we had a community engagement with them, and we came up with some programming. And in February of last year, there were 3 programs that we initiated with them. One was water security, where we did a training for rainwater catchment tanks. One was clean water, where we did a training for biosand water filters. And the final one was Building Better, where we did a training for interlocking stabilized soil brick presses and bricks. And this is the first one of the pictures from that training where they're setting up the platform for the press. That training lasted about, let's see if I remember right, it was about 10 days. And I don't recall off the top of my head the exact brick count, but I know there were hundreds of bricks, and we've certainly have pictures of them. We had multiple brick making machines on site in Manze, and we had a team of 20 local people. Half of them were women who were trained in how to make bricks. And you can see kind of the outcome there. It's one of the piles of bricks that they made. And so this is both a training on the bricks and how to best utilize the bricks, what the proper mixture is, and I'll talk more about this in a second. But this is kind of the genesis of Building Better and its start in Manze. So once we had that initial training, another program started, and I'm just going to open some additional pictures here and share those with you in a second. And here we go. And this wasn't a direct program of ours. So if my computer wants to let me. There we go. So the folks that we trained in Manze were then able to make their own bricks without us. The Zambia Women and Girls Foundation builds schools in the greater Manze area. They have built, I believe, 6 at the time of our original conversations with them. And they work with the Ministry of Education there and the Ministry of Works there to build these schools. And there was a new school that needed to be built in Mongolo. The team who had been trained how to make bricks then took the brick-making machines to Mongolia. That's one of the great advantages of using them, as they're portable and you can take them directly to the site. And so they spent several weeks, and I'll show this just through the course of these pictures, making bricks and fabricating bricks. Here you see they're making the mixture for the bricks. It's a mixture of soil and a stabilizer and a little bit of water. And I can talk about more about that in a second. They had 3 brick making machines on site, and you'll see just how many bricks they're able to produce with those 3 machines. And the whole community was engaged. It wasn't just the folks that we trained. They are able to then to share that information with others and have others help on site. And it's always the local folks who are actually doing this work. So they have a stake in the outcome of the work. And you'll see in the background there is the platform for the school. And this is just a small snapshot actually of how many bricks they made for the school. And here is a picture of the walls going up on the school. And one of the great things that I personally like about these bricks is they come out very smooth and very uniform in both shape and properties. They're stronger than clay-fired bricks, and they are better insulators than clay-fired bricks. So they're great for buildings that have a lot of folks inside of them. And here's the finished school that was completed. Again, this is using interlocking stabilized soil bricks. It wasn't our direct program, but it was an indirect program of ours. It was folks who we had trained, who had gone to another community, taken the machines with them, and had built a school there with those machines. And it's one of, I believe there's a need for 30, if I remember correctly, schools in that greater area. So I imagine those brick making machines are going to be very busy over the next few years. So once that work had commenced, we started to, and I'm just going to add somebody, so I'm a little bit multitasking here. We had started to do some work in Kakamega. And the reason for that is we were trying to build out our very first kind of center of operations. Historically, we've done a lot of work in a lot of different places. We've learned through that, both good and bad. And one of the things that we want to do moving forward is build more long-term relationships in the communities with whom we are working. So what that means is we are trying to have individual centers and then have programs out of those centers in a small geographic area. Our first center is in Kakamega, and that's our Kakamega Build Center. It is very close to where our programs manager, Eric Lajodi, is. It's also close to Getri, who you'll see on the screen here, and close to our first community partner there, Matsakha and the Matsakha Development Group. The work in Kambiri started in earnest late last year, and let me share the screen again. What you're going to be looking at here, if it pops up. Here we go. Our first brick making machines in Kambiri. And that was also our van. That's Noah. I just like to call him Noah because it's I believe it's a Toyota Noah, if I remember correctly. But it's Noah to me. And you'll see how portable those machines are. You can fit, I believe Eric said you can fit 4 of them in the van, so they're fantastic. You can take them from one community to the next. We've already had circumstance where the machines come in 2 different types. They come in both straight brick making machines and curved brick making machines. And I'm kind of running ahead here, but we've had a brick making occurring in both Kambiri and in Matsakha. We determined that for some future programming, it was going to be wise to have 2 curved brick making machines in Matsakha and 2 straight ones in Kambiri. And so we just swapped. And that's the great thing about having the van and having these portable presses is we can put one in and we can take it to one community and we can pick that one up and take it back to a different community. So it's very efficient. It's very fast. You can make very quick programming changes as you need to. So Eric and a team of 4 have been making bricks and Kambiri for some time. They were doing it for 2 reasons, and I'll get to the second reason in a second, but the first reason was to build up our expertise in actually fabricating these bricks. The bricks are made from marram in this particular area, and that's a type of soil. It's a metallic type of soil, so you'll notice that the soil colors can be different, light gray or dark, even a red here. And those, of course, make different colored bricks. The chemical components of those soils are slightly different. So some will need more or less stabilizer, some will need more or less water, some may have different curing requirements. So during this time of late last year and early this year, we kind of built up our expertise in how to press a brick and how long they needed to cure, if there were environmental conditions you had to take into account. So Eric and his team have been busy at it. Here's one of the presses in action. A couple of hardworking folks can get out 300 of these bricks a day, as long as you have all the supplies and a good working machine and some good oil, which you see there on the ground, that little red oil can down there. It's a really simple process. Once you have the marram, you can use marram that's on site, or you can have it delivered. And a number of our future projects, we've actually identified areas where the marram is available on site, so you don't even have to have it delivered. And then you typically will use cement and mix that in with some proportion of water. And then you put it into the mold, and then one strong person with some good leverage presses down on that mold, and out comes a brick. And that brick is interlocking. It's one of the great benefits. Another great benefit of this kind of brick is they can just stack on each other. You don't necessarily need mortar, except perhaps at the end joints or between the top or bottom of the brick walls. And they come out perfectly formed like this. Every one is uniform with every other one. They all look the same. And as you can tell from this picture, they come out in different colors depending on the marram you use or the mixture of the marram you use. And so I imagine in some ways, if you see a particular kind of brick, you can have an idea of which community it comes from, which is kind of neat. And then we do testing on the bricks. This is a water test where we put the brick in. Some of the things we've learned and that Eric has learned and that the team here has learned as well, we've determined how long the bricks need to cure based on their composition, what the environmental factors are. If it's too warm, do you need to water them to ensure that they don't crack? How much do you need to water them? How long do they need to cure? Can they stay outside being covered or uncovered? And so we really spent a lot of time over the last few months building up some expertise about these bricks. And these bricks can be used in anything. And that's kind of the point of building better, is they can be used for a housing structure. They can be used for chicken coops or sheds, all kinds of different things, just like any other brick. Here's just one picture of Eric's backyard. Fortunately, he's got a fairly large backyard to store and to cure all the bricks that they've been making. They've made several thousand of them now. And one of the things that Eric did, which I thought was really smart, is kind of put them all together into a couple of little makeshift shed kind of walled units here, and invited the community in Kambiri to come around and take a look at the bricks, see how they functioned, how they fit together, folks could pick them up and see how much they weigh and determine whether this was going to be a good option for them. What's come out of that is one person purchased 1,000 of the bricks, and that's David Zaremka, who unfortunately passed away due to COVID. He built an extension on to his kitchen with 1,000 bricks. We also now have 2 additional orders, one for 2,000 bricks and one for 5,000 bricks. So our program in Kambiri is a little different than our program in Matsakha that Getri will talk about in just a minute. In Kambiri, our programming is to learn more about how the bricks are made, how they work, how they function, how they can be made to last, and then selling them directly to the community. And then also using them, repurposing them in the community. So these are straight bricks. Eric and his team have also been making curved bricks, which will be used for rainwater catchment tanks at schools in Kambiri. So each of the programs are going to be slightly different. The Kambiri one has been really successful, over 10,000, probably actually more like 12 to 14,000, I think, bricks, straight bricks made so far, and several thousand curved bricks made so far using different kinds of marm, and a great team there with Eric. While this work was progressing, we started a build with the community of Matsakha, and Transforming Communities for Social Change is our primary partner with that build. Getri Agiza is the executive director of that organization, and they've been fantastic to work with. I cannot speak more highly of Getri. She's wonderful, and her whole team is great. And also, I cannot speak more highly of the community of Matsakha. This work started with a survey, which we do start with all of our communities, and then we had a community engagement in October of last year. It lasted 3 days. We met with over 100 people from the community. Matsakha has 10 different villages and around 9,000 people. There were representatives from every village at the community engagement, including the chief and village elders. And our first program to come out of, important things came out of that community engagement. One was the development of the organization of the Matsakha Development Group. It was originally named committee, but MDG, the Matsakha Development Group. So that is the group within Matsakha who is kind of the representation of the people there and who we are working with directly. And the second thing that came out of that work was the need for soap. And that was something the community told us. Obviously, this relates to COVID and hand washing. Schools were coming back into session, and there wasn't a lot of soap available for schools or for the community as a whole. So we very quickly set about on a soap making program, which you can read about on our website. As that program is now in its 4th month and has made almost 2,000 liters of soap, if my memory is good. And they have recently started their 2nd program and are working on their 3rd program. And so that 2nd program is a better building program. And they've recently had a training, and Getri, if she's hopefully able to, is going to talk a little about the Better Building program and her work with the Matsakha Development Group to bring that to life. Getri?
Thank you, Will. Good day, friends. It's hard for me to know the time difference being in Kenya. My name is Getri Agiza, the Executive Director of Transforming Community for Social Change. And I will say a pioneer leader with Matsakha Development Group. We really appreciate the work that Friendly Water is doing, given that one of the success that Will might have forgotten to mention is for the 4 months, we are able to achieve standardization of the soap that we're producing. And so we are open to take the soap that was supported by Friendly Water to the market, which is a big thing for us because in Kenya, getting standardization is not a joke. And so we celebrate. And next week, we are hoping to be visited by the Minister of Trade to view our commodity and open it now to the general market in Kenya, which is an exciting thing for us. I mean, we started small, not knowing how big it is, but the quality of the soap makes it a fruitful and timely program. We are now venturing into, we are just in the middle of our second technique, which is brick making. Brick making has been a very successful and exciting journey. Having the machine come to Matsakha and people coming to see it and learning about it was kind of an interesting part of the whole session. We had so many youth who wanted to learn on how it's working, and even women are not left behind. At some point during training, women were told to sieve the sand so that the youth can use their energy to pull down to bring out to compress the brick. And women are saying, you know, give us an opportunity. We also want to know how it feels. So you could see during the first days of the training, people are hanging on the machine because their feet could not go down. But it was like part of the job, part of the training. But when it came to production of the brick, it took us 13 days to produce 5,963 bricks. Our target was 5,000 bricks, and so we surpassed by 963. And we are eagerly now waiting to start up with the third technique of building the water tank. Bricks, in our way, it's an environmental friendly. If we look at the global warming, bricks are going to help in a great deal on issues of afforestation. So many people, when they're making the normal bricks in Kenya, it's sold cheaply, but the cost of having it produced is very expensive. People can use, like, if you want to make 4,000 bricks, you have to use like 5 trees. You have to cut down 5 trees to bake the 4,000 bricks. While here we are already having these Makiga bricks, which is just sand and water, and very little water, and the soil, and the compression works. When you did the testing, the first time we were putting it in water with Eric, everybody got scared that the beauty of what they've made might just feel like a waste. But it was exciting to see a block getting into the water and nothing was happening. It was still just a very strong and firm block that anybody can step on it. And so after realizing that, we have found people are coming to ask, tell us more about this Makiga, how is it working? So we are actually more of the Makiga brick making experts in Matsakha community. And so it's building interest. How does it work? Where does it work? So we are looking forward to the first tank to be installed, because with that, we show the community that this is how cheap it is. At first, when you tell people how much it can cost to get a brick, they feel it's a bit expensive for them because they're used to the normal bricks, but the size is like double of the normal brick. Number two, when you look at the Makiga brick, as Will said, you know, you just arrange it and use cement on ends and the top, which means it will save us more on mixing the mortar and the cement and the sand, because you have to also buy this special kind of sand. When you build with a brick, this is what we keep telling people. It's more faster and very economical, because in Kenya, when you're doing construction work, you have to cook food for the workers and make sure you pay them. But then when you have it taking shorter time, it saves you more on labor and also saves you more on food consumption. And so we see this is becoming like a way to adopt it, and just excited that what comes out will save a great deal. Matsakha schools, we have pointed out 15 schools so far that are ready to receive, to benefit from this program. And you could see them asking, when are you coming? So there's that excitement and eagerness because so many kids miss school. They come to school in the morning, but then they're sent back home to bring water so that it can help clean classrooms, cook food for the teachers and cook food for the school if it's a boarding school, and even just water plants. So if we can have storage in the school, then kids might not be going home to bring water from wherever they can collect water. And again, children going home, it will be more safer being in school because when they go home, they use different kinds of jerry cans to carry this water. And some of these jerry cans are just dirty. So the hygiene of the water itself coming to other children in school is not safe. So the tanks will give a very big opportunity of a healthy living to a child who deserve a healthy living. So we are excited and we really want to thank you, friends, for being there and supporting this program. And welcome to Kenya and be part of the program one day. We hope COVID will just end and we can move. Albert and Joyce and you're welcome. It's an open home and a warm place to come.
Thank you, Getri. I'm coming.
Welcome.
As soon as I can. Thank you. That's fantastic. And I'm so glad that Getri mentioned something I did forget to mention, which was the KEBS certification that the soap, Meta soap, that the Matsakha Development Group is now making every month, well, actually every day sometimes, but weekly, is now certified and can be sold in stores, as Getri said. And so that's incredibly exciting. It's the first time any soap that we've been associated with has received such endorsement from the local authorities. And I wanted to, and I didn't include this originally, and as Getri was talking about the different kinds of bricks, this is a typical kiln. This one happens to be in Malimba, which is outside Manze. These kilns are pretty easy to find. And this is usually how you would make bricks. First, you have to have some bricks, and then you make the kiln out of the bricks, and you fire the bricks in these kilns. And these requires an enormous amount of heat, which requires an enormous amount of fuel. And much of that fuel is the trees, and deforestation is a major problem in many of the communities with which we work. Deforestation, of course, contributes to climate change. And not only does deforestation contribute, but the pollutants that come out of this burning also contribute. So interlocking stabilized soil bricks completely do away with both of those issues. And they're really a great technology. And as Getri said, that we're going to be using them to make rainwater catchment tanks. They've been used to make a school. We know they've been used to make chicken coops. And I'm sure many, many other things, and also used to sell. They are a source of income. And they can be used both to sell and to store as a source of income. As anybody who's in the building industry in America has encountered recently, wood is very expensive these days. And so folks are hoarding it because it's really valuable. And bricks can be quite valuable too, and they can be used and stored as a source of income. So that's fantastic. And if Kurt was here, what he would be sharing with you is that we recently received funding for the construction of 46 rainwater catchment tanks throughout the community of Matsakha. That's almost 1 million liters of water capacity, of water security for that community. And that's the biggest project that we've ever been associated with. We're going to be talking a lot more about it, and we hope to double or triple the size of that project. It's going to be something that we're going to be building a big fundraiser for as the year goes on. It's an amazing opportunity in a number of ways. All the benefits that Getri shared for the local community. It's also an amazing learning experience for all of us to build out that many tanks, and a fantastic opportunity to connect with school administrators and school teachers and local community people to learn better about what their challenges are, what their needs are, how can we contribute and connect with them. Getry already relayed to me an opportunity of in one of the schools we're looking at, there is an unfinished latrine that doesn't have walls. And that's something that wouldn't have been known to us otherwise. And we may have an opportunity to either build walls or build a different kind of latrine there to help with that school and their challenges. So it's a really huge project for us, I should say, huge program. And we're excited to build those rainwater catchment tanks in Matsakha. So hopefully that gives you a really great overview of what building better is and the bricks that we're currently using. As I said before, we're becoming more and more technology agnostic. So we know that for these projects, for these programs, these communities, that the interlocking stabilized soil bricks are the right way to go. But we also know that in other communities, it may be a different kind of technology, and that will be whatever's right for that program with that community. So with that, does anyone have any questions? Clements, I saw that you asked, is TCSC thinking of selling the bricks beyond the community? I believe the answer to that is yes, and Getry can correct me if I'm wrong. I can tell you that the soap, the Meta soap that is being made by MDG is being sold and sought after beyond Matsakha. So I imagine the bricks will too. Is that true, Getry?
Yeah, we hope to sell it beyond Matsakha.
Yeah. Anybody else with questions?
This may be premature, but for the 15 schools, will we do one catchment at a time at each school, or will we do 3 at a school and then move to the next school?
Actually, that's a really great question. So there are a couple of things that we're doing that are, I think, they're new to us, and they hopefully are going to make for a better program. One of them is we are having a site survey done at each school where we get the measurements of the roof or roofs in a particular case, so that we know what the potential water surfaces and water catchment surfaces. We're also getting measurements of the school itself so that we can right size the tank and the tank location to the school. And we are, and as part of that site survey, we are trying to understand better how is water used at the school, where is water currently located that people are using for the school, how many community members, because for some of these schools, my understanding is that they serve not just the school, but sometimes parts of the surrounding community. So how many other community members are impacted by installing tanks at the schools? I don't think, because we haven't completed any site surveys yet, I don't think we have established whether we would finish one school and move on. But the advantage is we are making bricks at the schools. So the brick presses are actually taken to the schools, and we'll be making bricks at the schools. And so if we have more than one press, I imagine it's certainly conceivable that we could have multiple school, both brickmaking and rainwater catchment programs happening at the same time. Anybody else with questions? Shirley?
Yeah, what are you using on the roofs? Is this metal roofs or what? And then what are you using for the gutters?
Good questions. They are metal roofs. The gutters is something that I actually don't know off the top of my head.
We have different samples of gutters. We have metal gutters and plastic compatible design gutters, depending on what one chooses to use.
So no one's using bamboo?
No, bamboo is rare in Matsakha. it could only be found in Mount Elgon Forest, which is quite a distance, and they don't allow people to just get it anyhow.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
Yeah, this question is for Will and for Gayatri too. I'm just wondering what the two of you think have been the most important learnings about the brick making since it began. I was there. It'll be 3 years in October, participating in some of that and seeing how it's done. And it seems like some nice changes have been made and expansions and so on. So just interested in what you think have been the most important things that have been learned.
I think I have a couple of things, but I want to let Gayatri speak first if there's anything that stands out to her.
Thank you, Kathleen. I think one important thing is the cost effectiveness and the speed. When you're using already the molded bricks, the how do you call it? The bricks, the joining of bricks without mortar, that is even save you more on cement and sand. Number two, the speed of building that house will also be very fast. And number three, just looking at how David's kitchen came out, it looks so beautiful. Just the beauty of it, and it gives you options. You don't need to just plaster it with cement. You can use varnish and put some color, and it looks so beautiful. And so the beauty that comes out when you've done that, it's also very, very superb. And how heavy it is, because what bricks you're making now, it will take 2 of the normal bricks that have been made before Makiga. So which means the wall itself will be very strong.
I want to echo that. Maybe it's because I'm in marketing and communications, but the very first thing I ever noticed about the bricks was how they looked. And if you just do them side by side with a clay-fired brick, which is craggly and it's not attractive to look at, they're never uniform. You never get 2 that are the same. They're like snowflakes. But these interlocking stabilized soil bricks, they come out great. They're just, they really make a pretty and attractive looking. And look, who doesn't want an attractive house? Who doesn't want an attractive home? Everyone does everywhere. And so that's important no matter where you are. And I would love to have these bricks as my home or as a building on my property. They look great. The other thing that kind of stands out to me is it's very much a technology that I don't think we know the potential of it yet. I think it's something that once it gets out there and people start using it, we are going to learn so much from the people who are using the technology. They're going to be teaching us so much about how it can be used. And that's really exciting. That's a little different. When we make a biosand water filter, we kind of know what we're doing and we know what it does, and it goes in one place and it cleans water and does an amazing job of that. But people aren't turning biosand water filters into, restaurants, or not that they couldn't, but there tends to be a single use for it. But these bricks, there's so many, that has such great potential, and it's something that I'm really excited to see how it evolves once it's made available to more people.
Yeah, it's great news about the grant for those additional water catchment tanks. I mean, that's terrific. That's so important in my view. I mean, it really is going to, it has the potential, I think, for really almost, just altering the culture, is because it's so critical, and saving so much time for people so they can actually maybe enjoy their lives or do something creative, and those opportunities that really make a difference in the whole community. I think that that's significant for that. Two other short things, which is where are these brick making machines? Where are they being fabricated?
So in Kenya, they're made by Matsakha. We've had them made by, I think, 3. We've had one made in India. We had one made locally in Zambia. And the rest have been made by Matsakha. Matsakha's headquarters is in Kenya, but they do have storefronts essentially in Uganda and a couple of other countries.
And what's the approximate cost? I always think of this because if I do fundraising for Friendly Water, I like to tell people if you donate this much, you can buy whatever, a brick making machine or so many biosand filters. I think sometimes that helps people be more willing to donate when they know exactly what they are purchasing.
Yes, and I want to say I should have that number off the tip of my tongue, but I don't. David, do you know what that exact number is?
So with our discount in Kenya, I think they cost $1,200.
It seems right.
Either the curved or the other ones. In Uganda, I think they went for 1,500, and in Tanzania. In Zambia, they were significantly less. I know they made larger bricks, and there are other issues, but I think they were about 650 in Zambia. And we made one in India, a prototype. Really, it was just a prototype. But we made it for about $700.
For how much?
For about 700. But
Okay.
mind you, it was a prototype.
Okay.
You know, there's going to be more. I mean, we literally had a welder build it from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can definitely confirm. I know that price is right for Zambia. It was around 650. So as little as that, and I think probably as much as 1,200. So
That's with the Friendly Water discount. I think they retail for 1,500.
Thank you.
What's the cost of a brick if the people were buying them?
oh, that's a good question, and depends on the community. Getri, what's the cost in your local community?
We tried figuring out with Eric because the first he was looking at 25 shillings, which is like $0.25. But that is not really, it's not bringing back all the cost of making it. So probably it's a 30 shilling, Kenyan shilling per brick.
25 cents-ish.
Yeah.
So does the sand have to be purchased, or is it so available you can just go out and dig it up?
Well,
Some places you can get it available, but again, some places you find it's more of a water-based area. So we have to get it there.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. I hope you all have amazing plans for Memorial Day weekend. I really appreciate you sticking around on Friday to chat with us, and I hope this has been informative. And if you want to see any more of it, you're welcome to go on our website. And please, if you have any questions, let me know. Go on our website. I've been remiss recently in not reminding and asking people if you would like to be one of our sustaining donors. We love sustaining donors. Those are our monthly donors. We have sustaining donors who give $5 and sustaining donors who give 100. So it's anything in between or above, whatever you're comfortable with. You can always do that online on our donation page online. Otherwise, thank you everyone, and I'll see you next month.